Every weekend, there's a young guy in a suburban neighborhood who wakes up at 6 in the morning, not to go to work or hit the gym, but to spend hours in his garage with a motorcycle that already runs perfectly fine. He's installing parts that cost more than some people's monthly rent. His friends think he's obsessed, his family thinks he's wasting money, but to him, every modification is necessary. Every upgrade is essential. This isn't just about bikes. This is about something much deeper in the human psyche. The relationship between a person and their modified motorcycle operates on psychological levels that most people never consider. When someone decides to lower their stance, change their exhaust note, or reprogram their fuel mapping, they're not just altering metal and machinery, they're engaging in a form of self-expression that reveals fundamental aspects of human nature. Consider this. A motorcycle is one of the few possessions that people actually inhabit with their entire body. It's not just owned, it's experienced with every sense. It's a machine where people spend hours leaning into curves, feeling the wind, hearing the engine sing just inches below them. It's more intimate than a car, more raw. So when someone modifies their bike, they're essentially redesigning an extension of their own body, much like choosing a tattoo or the way they dress. The difference is that this machine moves through the world of broadcasting identity to everyone who sees it and hears it. Research in consumer psychology shows that people form emotional attachments to objects that reflect their ideal self. The motorcycle becomes a physical manifestation of who they want to be, not necessarily who they are. A 23-year-old working an entry-level job might ride a modified Honda CBR with racing clip-ons and a rear seat cowl. The bike doesn't match his current reality, but it matches his aspirations. It represents speed, agility, freedom, and a future where he has achieved more. There's a guy named Marcus from Toronto who started modifying motorcycles at 19. He worked 2 jobs to afford parts for his Kawasaki Ninja. When asked why he spent money he barely had on modifications, he said something revealing. He mentioned that growing up, his family moved constantly because of his father's job. They lived in 7 different cities before he turned 18. He never had a stable friend group, never had a room that felt truly his, but the motorcycle became the one constant he could control. Every modification was a decision he made, a mark he left, a piece of stability in an unstable life. This reveals a crucial psychological driver: the need for control. In a world where so much feels uncertain and beyond individual influence, a motorcycle represents a domain of complete autonomy. The owner decides everything: what handlebars it should have, how it should sound, how it should handle the curves. No one can tell them otherwise. It's a small kingdom on 2 wheels where they're the absolute authority. The modification community also fulfills a deep human need for belonging. Walk into any bike meet on a Saturday night and the psychology becomes immediately apparent. These aren't just people showing off vehicles, they're people who have found their tribe. Someone who spends thousands modifying an older Yamaha R6 might seem irrational to outsiders, but within the community, that person is respected, admired, understood. They speak a shared language of horsepower, torque, suspension setup, lean angles, and aesthetic choices. Psychologist Abraham Maslow identified belonging as one of the fundamental human needs, sitting right above safety and physiological needs in his famous hierarchy. For many motorcycle enthusiasts, especially younger people still figuring out their place in the world, the modification community provides exactly this. It's a space where passion is shared, where knowledge is valued, where friendships form around common interests and late-night rides.
There's also a creative element that gets overlooked. Motorcycle modification is fundamentally an art form. The person choosing parts, colors, and modifications is making aesthetic and functional decisions similar to any artist. They're taking something mass-produced and making it unique. They're expressing a vision that exists in their mind and bringing it into physical reality. The satisfaction of seeing that vision completed activates the same reward centers in the brain that any creative accomplishment triggers. Neuroscience research shows that when people complete a project they've invested time and effort into, their brains release dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. For someone who just finished installing a new exhaust system or completed a custom tail tidy, that dopamine hit is real and powerful. It's the same neurological response a painter gets finishing a canvas or a writer completing a novel. But there's a darker psychological side worth examining. Some people modify motorcycles as a form of compensation. Not every modification comes from a healthy place of self-expression. Sometimes it's rooted in insecurity, in a need to prove something to others or to oneself. The psychology term is compensatory consumption. It's when people buy or modify things to make up for perceived inadequacies in other areas of their lives. A researcher at a British university conducted interviews with modified motorcycle owners and found a notable percentage mentioned feeling overlooked or underestimated in their professional or personal lives. The loud exhaust pipe, the aggressive headlight fairing, the lowered rear end, these modifications became ways of demanding attention and respect that they felt they weren't receiving elsewhere. The motorcycle became a tool for validation. This doesn't mean all motorcycle modification stems from insecurity. That would be reductive and inaccurate. But it's important to acknowledge that psychological motivations exist on a spectrum. Some modifications come purely from passion and creativity. Others come from deeper emotional needs that the person might not even consciously recognize. There's also the element of mastery. Humans are wired to seek competence and skill development. Many people who modify motorcycles don't just buy parts and pay someone to install them. They learn to do the work themselves. They spend hours watching tutorials, reading forums, making mistakes, adjusting chains, rebuilding forks, syncing carburetors, and gradually building expertise. This journey from novice to skilled modifier provides profound psychological satisfaction. The concept of flow state, identified by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, describes the mental state where a person is fully immersed in an activity, losing track of time and experiencing deep focus. Many motorcycle enthusiasts describe exactly this state when working on their bikes. The challenges are neither too easy nor impossibly hard. They're in that sweet spot where skill meets challenge, and the result is pure engagement. The feel of a properly adjusted chain, the sound of perfectly synced throttle bodies, the balance of a freshly tuned suspension. Consider a father and son in Melbourne who spent 2 years restoring and modifying a 1990s Suzuki GSX-R together. The father mentioned that those hours in the garage became the deepest conversations they ever had. While adjusting valve clearances or changing fork oil, they talked about life, relationships, fears, and dreams. The motorcycle became a medium for connection, a shared project that facilitated emotional bonding that might not have happened otherwise. This social dimension extends beyond individual relationships. Modified motorcycle culture creates events, gatherings, and shared experiences. Bike meets aren't just about displaying machines. They're about community rituals. People ride, sometimes hours to attend. They park in carefully organized rows. They walk around admiring each other's work, offering compliments, asking technical questions about sprocket ratios or brake master cylinders. These gatherings fulfill social needs that modern life often leaves unmet. In an era where many people interact primarily through screens, where community institutions have weakened, where traditional social structures have fragmented, motorcycle culture provides something tangible and real. It gets people out of their houses, onto the road, into physical spaces, engaging face-to-face. The psychology of this cannot be overstated. Humans evolved in tight-knit communities, and when modern life fails to provide that, people seek it elsewhere. There's also the rebellion embedded in modification culture. Every society has rules, expectations, and norms. Modified motorcycles often deliberately violate automotive and social norms. They're louder than necessary, lower than practical,
more aggressive than socially acceptable. This isn't accidental. It's a form of non-violent rebellion, a way of saying that the owner doesn't fully accept conventional expectations. Psychologically, this rebellion serves a developmental purpose, especially for younger enthusiasts. It's a way of establishing independence and individual identity, separate from family, society, or authority. It's relatively safe rebellion. Nobody gets hurt, no laws are seriously broken, but it still provides that psychological satisfaction of asserting autonomy. The investment aspect also reveals interesting psychology. People will spend money they don't really have on modifications they don't really need. From a purely rational perspective, this makes no sense, but humans aren't purely rational. We're emotional beings who make decisions based on how things make us feel, not just logical cost-benefit analysis. That new exhaust system or custom rear shock might be financially irresponsible, but the feeling it provides, the pride, the satisfaction, the identity reinforcement is worth more than the money spent. Understanding the psychology of people who modify motorcycles ultimately reveals something about all human behavior. We all seek self-expression. We all need community. We all want control over some aspect of our lives. We all desire mastery and competence. The motorcycle enthusiast isn't fundamentally different from anyone else. They've just found their particular avenue for meeting these universal human needs. For some people, it's art. For others, it's music. For others, it's sports. For motorcycle enthusiasts, it's their bike. The next time someone sees a heavily modified motorcycle and thinks it's excessive or pointless, remember there's a human behind those modifications, with psychological needs being met, with a story being told, with an identity being expressed. That bike isn't just transportation, it's therapy, creativity, community, and identity, all wrapped into one powerful package on two wheels.